Hello everyone, this is Steve O'Reilly with SkinnyPost.com. I have the privilege to be joined with Charles Grant, the 9-year NFL veteran, former New Orleans Saint with the Who Dat Nation, also the former Georgia Bulldog, has joined us today to talk a little Saints football and a little bit of the ongoings going on down there in New Orleans and some of the things that he experienced. Charles, thanks so much for joining us. Pleasure having you on.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Let's just jump right in and talk about, obviously, what everybody's been talking about, and that's the bounty situation. You were there with Gregg Williams for a year in 2009, his first year there. As a player, being in that locker room, is it blown up? Is it as accurate as the media is portraying it to be? Is it as malicious as everybody wants it to be? What's the truth?
I mean, first of all, a guy releases a tape to the media that's supposed to be private and in-house. That goes to tell you how shady people do business if they're not with an organization or with a team anymore. Gregg Williams is a stand-up guy. Sean Payton is a stand-up guy. Mickey Loomis a stand-up guy. Joe Vitt, stand-up guy. You gotta love Joe Vitt. That whole Saints organization and that Who Dat Nation, man, are stand-up people. Mr. Benson does a great job. I think the way people blowed it up too much. I think they didn't have enough to talk about, so they had to find something to talk about.
Now, some of the things that leaked, obviously, like you had alluded to, that tape, the recording, the guy was there under a different premise and obviously went to the media and said, look what I got. Probably got a little money for that as well. Sold it, I'm willing to wager. I don't know for sure. But how accurate are some of the things that he said? I mean, you played defensive end. Your job was to get after people, to get after quarterbacks. Were you specifically speaking for yourself? Was your goal to go out and try to hurt people for extra payment? I don't think you did, but I want to ask you to your face.
Nah, I mean, that's not any NFL player's goal to go out and hurt somebody for some extra paper. If a coach in the National Football says that, hey, I don't motivate my guys in a way of putting up an incentive, then he's lying to himself. Players, whether in NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, I'm pretty sure some guys that play Major League Baseball might say, hey, look, if your game is, if you hit me today, hey, we'll do this. We might go to dinner. It's all the same terminology. He just used it. They just trying to portray it like, hey, I want you to go out here and kill these guys. No, it's not that tight, man. The NFL has more problems than Gregg Williams talking about going out here on the tape. Hey, Frank Gore knocked his head off. Hey, the receiver, he just had such and such surgery. Man, to me, that would be a compliment if the coach is talking about me in the meeting. Hey, man, we got to stop this guy because he's the only way we're going to win. That's a compliment. That's the way you got to look at it. I mean, you can't be one of those soft. The National Football League already has 1,000,001 rules. I mean, so you can't really go at that, man. You know, some of the stuff, you got to just wipe it out, man. At the end of the day, let them guys play football.
So being a player that listened to those speeches, that heard the rah-rah speeches, and you heard it not just from Gregg Williams, but from every defensive coordinator and head coach that you've played under for almost a decade and in college, you know, anything to get guys motivated and ready to play. How much of it really sinks in? I mean, you're obviously in a zone, right? You're in the locker room. You probably got your headphones on. You're getting ready to play. Regardless of what coaches say or what is actually said, are you just going out there doing your thing week in and week out, the same approach, regardless of the speeches before and after the game? How much influence does that have?
You got to think a lot of coaches didn't even play in the NFL that coach. So as a football player, a guy like Jerry Rice, when he comes and speaks, a guy like Ronnie Lott, when he comes and speak to you, guys like that, a guy like a Hall of Fame type guys like a Cortez Kennedy, guys of that nature, when they come speak to you, they're speaking from the heart because they played in the National Football League. They know the game of football. They know what it consists of when you playing and when you're not playing. I think people get caught up in the, hey, it's harder than what people think it is. And people nowadays are making it become a flag football league. We want to see teams score 40, 50 points. So you can't touch it 5 yards downfield. A receiver come across the middle, you can't hit him that way. Man, some of the best players, the running lots,
Steve Atwaters, guys like that.
Those guys, man, God bless the dead, Reggie White, Howie Long. Man, them guys that played the game at a high volume to take your head off.
Right.
So when people say bounty, I think every defensive player in the National Football League should be a bounty hunter, basically. It's nothing bad with that. You're going to play football. I hope you're not going out there to rub titties with the other guy. I hope you're going out there to do your damage. A lot of guys in the National Football League, if me and you were teammates, my bond is with you. My bond is not with the other guy on the other team. It may be in the off season.
All right, so let's go ahead and put that behind us. I think everybody has a pretty good understanding of what happened, and there's no need to beat a dead horse. Where do you think the Saints go from here? I mean, obviously, their head coach is gone for the season. Like you had mentioned, Vitt, he's gone for most of half the season. Loomis is gone for half the season. And the big question is, Drew Brees. He wants a big contract. What do you think? How does this play out for the Saints? I mean, is this dark cloud going to ever show a ray of sunshine for Saints fans? How do they get through this?
They can't let Drew Brees leave the state of Louisiana, period. The best thing that happened to their organization for his quarterbacks. He's taking your team to the Super Bowl and won it, taking them to the playoff. The fans in Louisiana loves Drew Brees. He's a stand-up guy. He loves his family. He loves the kid. He loves his football team. He's a great individual. No, you can say nothing bad. I think what the Saints did was slap him in the face with Mr. Benson closing a deal with the Hornets before getting your football team quarterback signed. I think that was a slap in the face at Drew Brees. But that's just my opinion. At the end of the day, everybody in the world has an opinion. I think you should give Drew Brees the type of money $100 million he well deserved.
Absolutely.
Well deserved that. $100 million, guarantee him $60 million for 3 years. He deserved it. And you're gonna get more just off Drew Brees' jersey alone. As an owner, you're gonna make more than $100 million back.
I agree with that 100%. Do you see any chance of him holding out? You know him personally. You played with him. He's a teammate. Do you see a chance of him making a business decision and saying, "Look, I'm not playing for $14 million because that's what his estimated tag number is going to be." When other guys are making $19, $20 million, Peyton Manning was out all last year. He's making $19 million. He's making $5 million more than Brees, and Brees broke records last year. Do you think there's a chance he could hold out?
That's a hard decision because, like I said, Drew Brees is a stand-up guy. What Drew Brees would probably do is go in there and work in the offseason. See, Drew Brees could be the head coach of the New Orleans Saints right now. You really don't need an intern head coach because guys on that football team is going to listen to Drew Brees. If Drew Brees say be in that locker room at 6 a.m. in the morning, every football player is going to be in that locker room at 6 a.m. because they know Drew Brees is going to be there at 5 o'clock. So that's how much respect guys on that football team have for Drew Brees. So they're wasting their time. Their off-season program, if they don't get him signed, your season goes downhill. Drew Brees is one of those guys who's going to get in there. He's going to work with the receivers, running backs. Then as a defensive player, you want to get off that ball against Drew Brees. And if you're a DB, you want to go against the receiver when they're having pass scale. So Drew Brees is a coach in one. He can run a whole football team. He knows the system of Sean Payton's. So why not sign the man right now and give him what he's well deserved? In the city, a lot of people in New Orleans I know are mad because they're playing with Drew Brees' contract. Once you get it did, that city's going to erupt, and they should erupt because Drew Brees is a great guy.
Yeah, and like I had said numerous times, and I'll say it again now, with a dark cloud over your organization that they have, bringing this man in the fold with a long-term deal and giving him his money, it's going to make all that go away. The fans are going to forget everything once they hear Drew Brees signed a 5-year, $100 and whatever million deal. He's going to be a Saint for life. Bounty is in the rearview mirror at that point. So why not just get it done?
I don't think they're giving 5 years. I think they're giving a 6-year, $100 million deal that guarantee him. Like, you got to think now, Metron up in Detroit got crazy loot.
$123 million.
How much of it guaranteed?
I don't know exactly. I know it's like
$60 million guaranteed in 3 years, right?
Yeah, 60, yeah.
So you putting them at $20 million a year. You can't put Drew Brees at $25 million a year?
I would.
I put him at 30.
You're right. And he's proved it. He's already brought you a Tiffany trophy. He's brought a Super Bowl to the city. I mean, what more do you want?
take you to the playoffs last year, have another chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree.
What they're going to do is allow another team to come in and beat them out and give Drew Brees that check, and it's going to be a problem.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think they'll get a deal done before that mid-July franchise. The franchise tag sticks with you after mid-July, so they still have some room to get something done. But
they killing their football team.
Yeah, it doesn't help.
Repetition is the key. As a football player, you have to always remember Drew Brees is like you're in a limousine and he's the chauffeur, so he got to drive that football team.
Right.
The football team, New Orleans Saints, only go as far as Drew Brees allowed them to go.
It's true. Let's talk about you personally for a minute. I see behind you got that nice Grant zone. You're broadcasting from your restaurant. Tell us a little bit about what you've been up to and what your football future looks like.
I've just been like any owner in the NFL, you got to handle your business first, and that's what I've been doing for the last year, setting myself up to handle my own business. I built an establishment here in Atlanta, man, probably one of the premier sports bars to come in Atlanta. Grand opening like the first, second week in May. I've been working on it for a year, just focused on this, making this income besides football. Do I love the game? I love it. You know, the NFL don't really want a lot of old veteran guys in because they think we can play the game. I watched a lot of young guys last year play football, was tiptoeing and wasn't playing it aggressive enough. It's a flag football league out there with some of them. And some of them go all out and play it, man. I think the NFL should let a lot of these veteran players that have played the game a long time come back and show them how the game is really to be played.
There you go. Well, hopefully we'll see you on Sunday soon. It was always a pleasure watching you play, and we wish you the best of luck, obviously, with your restaurant sports bar up there in ATL, and big draft party coming up, right? You're going to be rocking the house up there in about 8 days now?
The draft, we'll see you in 8 days.
Sounds good. Charles Grant, thank you so much for coming on SkinnyPost.com. Really appreciate your insight. Really appreciate your time. We wish you nothing but the best of luck in your future. Thanks again for stopping by.
Thank you for having me. I hope to have you in the Grant Zone shortly.
I hope to be there shortly. We'll talk soon. I'm Steve O'Reilly. That's Charles Grant. This is SkinnyPost.com, and we're giving you the skinny 24/7.